Good evening, everybody. Matrix here, and here is my watch list for January 22nd. Okay, so I hope everybody had a nice day off the markets, the Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Here we are, the watch list again, starting off this short week on a Tuesday. We have lots of plays coming in. First, take a look at the futures right now. When the futures open up at 6 p.m. here, we had a little gap down. Let me zoom in a little bit. So a little gap down from the open at 6 p.m. when it opened, and it started selling off ever since. By midnight, it gapped down some more, and we are still riding down. It does not show me any signs of bouncing back. We are reaching a pretty critical support here at 2650. I think though we should be able to come down and test this 2640 as well. And we have major support here at 2630. So what I want to see is the market as a whole gap down. Okay, have that initial little panic first, hold some sort of support, and then bounce back up to fill the gap. And then from there, probably around late day, we should see double topping action or exhaustive action, and then we should get a sell-off back down. And that's my plan on the SPY. So bringing in the SPY right here. Last Friday, we had a pretty massive gap up day, dip and a run. So it basically filled the gap and then ran again. Excuse me, my server kind of logged off. Just log back in here real quick. Okay, so last Friday, going back into it, last Friday we had a gap up and then it filled the gap and then ran again. We are coming into some major support here at 270. This is a very critical area. I may mark this off right here, as you can see. Basically a lot of resistance right here. Now that we have gapped up over this 50 SMA and the 9, I'm still looking for that pullback, and that would probably come tomorrow. And I marked off 263 right here. It's the low of Friday. Okay, and as you can see, draw the horizontal line across. There's a major support in this area and this area right here, as well as this. So I do expect as the market come down, this 263 is going to give it some sort of a bounce action here. It's basically tomorrow. I'm anticipating basically a slight pullback of the previous few running days, right? So it does needs to pull back a little. Now looking into the intraday chart here, 264 was the previous day's highs, okay, and the open as well. So we might pull back down as far as the 264. Obviously, I just talked about the 263 as well. As you can see, there's major support here, and we are gapping down under. So we are around this 265 area. So let's see if the futures can bring it down some more. But with this gap down, I do anticipate that right out of the gates, people are going to panic. Like whoever is long around this area, they're going to panic a little bit, sell a little bit, and cause the overall market to come down just a tad more before the bounce. So a theory could be, or a thesis could be, looking for that bounce, right? Wait for the market to bottom out and then wait for it to double bottom or bounce from these areas, 264 or 263, or watch for the higher low, and then you can ride it back up, probably back up to the 266 area over here. And then at the end of the late day, we should watch it come right back down and fade a little bit and probably close at the 265. That's my call and my thesis on the SPY overall. So let's get into some charts and tickers. Like I said, there is a lot of plays in motion tonight. I'm still not logged back in, so let's see if I can log back in here. I seem to have lost internet connection, so I'm just going to pause the recording real quick here. Okay, so I do manage to get my charting platform back up, my internet back up, and re-recorded. And here we are. We were getting into some charts. One of my plays I'm looking at tomorrow is Tiffany and Company. So Tiffany it's very we got this two massive green days. We see it coming into the 200 SMA right here. Personally, I am gonna be watching for pullback day tomorrow on Tiffany's. Okay, let's check my notes here. Okay, so Tiffany, what happens is it every time I notice on daily chart, every time it gets a little bit above, like when it gets above the 9 EMA, which is this red line here, uh, and it gets a little bit ahead of itself, it tends to pull back the next day. So for example, right here on this day, on January 7th, see how it ran, and it gets a little bit above this 9 EMA. The next day it gapped up, ran a little bit, and dipped. So it had a consolidation day. All right. Going back through here, for example, on November 7th, same thing. It ran, finished a little bit over the 9 EMA. The next day it opened flat and gapped down a little bit and pulled back to the 9. As well as here, you see the same example on November 1st. Once it got ahead of the 9 EMA a little bit above, looking a little bit bullish, the next day it tends to like a pullback day. So we can see this pattern overall on Tiffany as I zoom out here and find you a little bit more examples. So for example, right here on September 14th, okay, we did finish on a strong up day, and then the next day it opened flat, popped a little bit, pulled right back to the 9. Let's see if I can find more examples here. Yeah, right here. Okay, so here it got a little bit ahead of the 9 EMA on July 19th. The next day it opened flat, ran a little bit, and pulled back to the 9. Once again, this day right here on June 18th, next day, gap down, pulled up a little bit, pulled back to the 9. So we see a pattern here, right? Basically, when Tiffany has a nice green day that looks really bullish and got ahead of the 9 EMA, on the next day it tends to pull back. Okay, so that's the pattern I'm watching for. I am looking for a pullback day on Tiffany tomorrow. For resistance wise, I'll be watching the $90.50 area. So let's mark that off real quick. Okay, so that's basically the high of day on Friday, 90.50. And I will also be watching this 91 area as well, which is, first of all, is a key psychological whole number. Second is also the 50 SMA on the daily chart. Now, I'm zooming in here on the daily chart as well. We have this massive candle on December 4th. Yeah, December 4th. It's basically, I just marked off the closing price and low end of the wick on December 4th here on Tiffany's, as you can see. And this is my key resistance. I'll be watching for it to top out. If it does get back up and over this 91 area and it starts holding, it might squeeze a little bit. But how far will it go? I don't see it get above this 95 area at all. Okay, so the reason why I say that is because 95 on this massive drop day, you can see this tall wick and it got stuffed. Basically, we have bag holders right here and here on these 2 days. So for specific dates, for those who are not watching and just probably listening to me on this chart, I'm talking about November 28th as well as December 3rd. This is a bag holder area, okay? Whoever bought this breakout at 95, the next day they got crushed and they got hammered, okay? So if the stock does break out 91 and it starts to run and magnet to the 95, you know 95 is going to come down on it and push it back down. But even before we reach that, I'll be watching 93 as well. So 93 is also a pretty key area, which is December 3rd. We have massive volume that day. It's the opening price. Okay, so a very whole number of 93. As far as support goes, I'm watching the support area of 89 to 89.50. So we are expecting a gap down tomorrow. As you can see, marking off on the intraday chart. 89 is basically the VWAP, and 89.50 is where it kind of double bottom on Friday. Okay, so we do have a very critical, not key, but critical support area. So as it gaps down tomorrow, we'll see how this area reacts. Personally, I want to see it pop back up, like a cover pop back up and a short back down. And my target would be key support. Now this time, I use the keyword key, not critical. It's key support of 88 and 87. Okay, so these would be my target areas right here. And I'll be, if I do get in on a good short, I'll be aiming for these areas. As you can see on the daily chart, 88 played very well on December 7th, and 87 mark is basically, yeah, we have a pretty key prior resistance now become support here on December 11th and 12th here. Right, these 2 days, it basically a double top here. So if I'm shorting, my targets would be 88 and 87. Okay, so that's Tiffany. Next up, we have LULU. LULU, another great chart I'm looking at to short. This is super overextension. What LULU is, what causes run up? It's basically January 14th. From January 14th, the company came out with a press release and announced that they kind of upgraded their guidance. Okay, it's a guidance upgrade. There was a SEC filing 8K form coming out for the press release as well, and ever since then, it just basically ran up. So the stock basically ran up from 135 to 152. I mean, let's plot some fibs here real quick. 135. 152. Okay. I am looking for a pullback day. The 50% area is at 143, and 145 is also a key fib level. But as you guys know, fibs, I like fibs, but I don't use fibs. My good friend, my trading buddy Nuke, likes fibs a lot, so he would use these areas. But fibs, they do match the support and resistance area that I like to watch for as well, many a times. So I'll be looking for a pullback day soon, because we basically did run up a few days already. So 2 days, and from the 14th, and then on the 16th, it had like a little pullback, and then 2 days again, and then tomorrow I am expecting a kind of a pullback. We have key resistance at 153 as well as 155. So let's mark that off on the daily chart for you real quick. 153 would be right here, and 155 is a key psychological whole number on the daily chart. As you can see, right in September, so all of September and early October, this is a key resistance area. We do have a lot of analysts coming in and upgrading the stock as well a few days ago. So that caused the running momentum. But we are running into some heavy chart resistance here. And I do expect a little pop tomorrow from LULU, because of the way it closed. It closed so strong. I think overnight buyers are anticipating a spike at the open, and I'll be watching for that spike to sell into, because these overnight buyers, they'll probably be watching the market as well. The stock is overextended. They'll probably want to take a little bit of profits as the market gap down. So I'm marking off 153. Okay, and I'm also marking off 155. I don't think the stock can get above 155 tomorrow. Okay, because it's so overextended. It does need a day to pull back. Obviously, I could be wrong, but that's my thesis going into tomorrow. If the stock gaps down, or if it starts selling off and I miss that short, I will be watching for support though. I'll be watching the key psychological whole number of 150 as well as 149.50 to hold support. This in itself is a support zone to me. It looks pretty clean as a support zone. and I'm looking forward to see it bounce off here, show me some sort of a double bottom, and continue to run. On the daily chart, if I mark off 150, it's basically reclaimed. The 150 reclaim, if it holds, that means it probably reclaimed the October sell-off from the start of the bear market in total. So if it bounced there, it's basically it's a confirmation to me that it's LULU. It's now a good long stock to play. Okay, so that's LULU. Next up, we have AMAT. AMAT ran a couple days in a row. Very simple. On the chart, we have a daily downtrend line. Okay, so I want to draw that out for you real quick. If I were to mark these off, okay, daily downtrend line, as you can see, it meets perfectly to the high of yesterday or Friday. Okay, so I'm definitely going to mark that off around the 36.25 to 36.30s area. This is a key resistance area I'll be watching for the stock to pull back from. Personally, I like to see a cover pop at the open since we do have short sellers piled in, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen since the overall market is gapping down, right? So watch 36.25 to 36 to 36.25, this highs area. The key support here is at 35. So we're going to mark that off, as well as 34.80. So just a little bit under it. And if I zoom in here a little bit on the daily chart, you can see basically I just marked off a very key support area for you here. It's basically the opening of Friday, right? And on the daily chart, you can see a lot of support that it broke through. So it does look like it want to come down, but personally, I want to see it pop out the gates first. We'll see what it does. All right, so AMAT. Finally, we have MOMO. MOMO, look at this. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 green days. I'm not sure if this January 14th day is considered a green day, but it bounced perfectly off the 9 EMA. In my platform, it shows green, but to me, it looks like a gap down and then a pop. So to me, that's actually a red day. It's more like a pullback day. So if we were not to count that, we are looking at 3 green days in a row running up from 27 where it broke out. This on MOMO, if you think back on or try to remember the past few watch lists in the prior months, early January, I was talking about this 26 and 27 area, okay, where 27 would be the squeeze point. I think I talked about this in one of my watch lists, and lo and behold, once the stock got up over 27, it's just squeezed and ran like stupid. Basically, we have 3 green days in a row, and the stock is a little bit overextended. To me, what MOMO looks like is that it wants to fill the gap right now. Okay, ever since it broke past this squeeze point, it looks like it wants to fill the gap. So my major resistance I'll be looking at is 3150s area. Okay, I'll be watching that to fill. I'll be watching the stock to fill the gap. It might have another day to run. I'll also be marking off the high of days as a resistance. I'll be watching for topping action here at 3050. Yeah, so basically those are the 2 resistance marks I'll be watching for. As far as support goes or target goes, I want to see it come down to 30 and see how it reacts if it holds. If the overall market is gapping down, it might bring MOMO down with it. I want to see if this 30 holds and then bounce from here. I also want to mark off 29 as well. Yeah, 29. So 29, since the stock is so overextended, I do think it has a possibility of pulling back down so much. Okay, and I mean, if we were to play with the fibs again, let's play with the fibs. All right, a 50% pull would be around the 28 75 area, right? On this prior run up. So 29, 28.75. That's what I'll be looking for. Excuse me. So I'm looking for a pop and a drop, or yeah, I definitely don't want to short out of the gates. Depending on the gap down, right? Even if it gaps down, I want to see it fill the gap a little bit and then reject. Probably yesterday's closing price would be a nice target to watch as well. As you can see, all this horizontal prior support. If we gap down, it becomes resistance, right? So watching for that MOMO, going to be watching for a nice pullback day. And that's basically it for my four main watches. As a side watch, I have OSTK. Okay, OSTK is basically a piece of shit stock, in my opinion. Ever since the Bitcoin bubble popped, this thing just dropped, and OSTK, they basically kept changing. They made major changes to the way they function as a business. Now, if we're looking at this chart overall from the beginning of the year to its prior spike, if I draw a downtrend line linking up until now, we still have a little bit more ways to go to meet that trend line. And I do actually think OSTK has the potential to squeeze up here. On a shorter time frame, though, if I were to draw a downtrend line from here, is this it? No. From here. Okay, from October, let's see. And if I were to connect these highs, we are coming into some sort of resistance here on the chart at 16. Okay, basically this move, I couldn't find any news on this late day squeeze move here on OSTK on Friday, but it has blown through. There are a lot of short sellers stuck in this stock. I think I'll be watching this on a side watch, and I'll be watching 1650, which is the 50 SMA, as well as this major volume on December 17th, where this big massive down candle happened. It's the opening price at 1650, and I'll probably give it a little bit more room. I'll be watching the 17 as well. Okay, so major resistance area. This to me is a dead cat bounce because of all the shorts being in this. They probably got caught by surprise. This probably had blown through quite a bit of stop outs for the long-term short sellers, right? So it really depends what happens tomorrow on 15. As you can see, it held support. So people or retailers who are day trading this, they might see this as a strong bullish reclaim move, and it could bring in some momentum, causing it to run again. I'll be watching the 16, the 1650, and the 17th. I personally want to see it run. The higher, the better, because it is a piece of shit stock. So I will be looking forward to the day where it turns, and I will be shorting it back down. Right now, it's not extended enough, in my opinion. So I'll wait one more day. Maybe I'll look at it again on the late day. Just keep a half eye on it on OSTK. Okay, and finally, pre-market tomorrow. We have lots of plays. We have pre-market earnings tomorrow. I'll be watching Johnson & Johnson, J&J. I'll be watching ATI, checking the pre-market action, see how they react to earnings. I'll be watching for PLD, and I will be watching for SWK as well as TRV. So we have 5 tickers for earnings pre-market tomorrow. Don't forget to check these out pre-market, see what their reaction is like. Okay, so that's basically my watch list this evening. I apologize if it's a little bit longer than usual, just because we do have a lot of plays to cover. We are getting into earnings seasons, and it's actually a good thing having plays, right? I have yet to go through my basket of stocks to watch, like, for example, the FANG stocks and stuff like that. I think I'm just going to focus on my watch list tomorrow. right? And Tiffany, I'm very interested. Lulu and Momo, I'm very interested. And of course, the half eye on OSTK, I want that short. So if you like my watch list, if you enjoyed my analysis, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Check out my video links below. Uh, Last night I did like a small video talk or video chat with Nuke, my trading buddy. So check out my YouTube channel. Look for that video. We did a very nice talk on there, and there will be extra episodes coming out. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening, and I'll see you guys all bright and early tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye.